Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to episode number 41 of the Houston Astros franchise here on MLB The Show 20. Now as you can see, there's no more scheduled games because the Astros did not make the postseason. Whether you're excited for that or you're disappointed in that, that's up to your opinion, but the Astros did not make the postseason. They finished 89-73, including going 15-10 in the month of September. So we're going to recap the Astros season today. If you're excited for that, make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below for more franchise content, as we're on the road to 100 subscribers. Take a look at the standings. The Yankees ended up winning the AL East. The Twins won the AL Central, while the West was won by the, drumroll, Oakland Athletics. 101 wins for the Athletics. That's very good for them. On the wild card, it would be both the Red Sox and the Rays making it. We finished 3 games out of the wild card, so we did not make the playoffs. And in the National League, the NL East was won by the Washington Nationals, so they have a chance to defend their crown, finishing 95-67. And the NL Central was the Brewers, who finished 88-74, like their AL counterparts. And so they won the division by 2 over the Cardinals late. In the West, it was the Dodgers who just completely ran away with the division, 118-44. They are the third team to eclipse a 700 winning percentage since the season expanded to 162 games. The Dodgers looking pretty dominant. And the wild card is the Cardinals who got the spot, and then you got the Diamondbacks and the Cubs who tied. So they have a game 163, which we'll see at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that one. Now let's take a look at the player stats. This is where we'll be spending most of our time as we take a look at their stats throughout the entire season. Starting off in the position players, we're going to sort it by OPS. Starting off with Alex Bregman. He had the highest OPS for us at the 916. He hit 276, 41 homers, and 93 ribbies. Would have had triple-digit ribbies, but Alex solo shot Bregman went yard plenty of times. He's just an absolute animal. Did technically decrease, but definitely our biggest star on the offensive part. Up next is George Springer, who hit 285, 31 homers, and 103 RBIs. Also led the team with 13 steals. He is a very, very good center fielder. He declined a little bit in terms of stats-wise, but still a great player. And he is a free agent, so he is going to be our priority. Number one this offseason is to re-sign George Springer and hope that he does not leave for free agency. So we're going to hope he comes back next year. Then we have Yordan Alvarez, who's probably our best power hitter, but only had a 265 average. He had 43 bombs and 115 RBIs. Last year's AL Rookie of the Year, followed up with a pretty solid campaign. Some of his stats, like his OPS and average, went down. A lot of our hitter stats, like average and stuff, went down, but still a dominant hitter. Definitely a cornerstone of this team, as he's only 22. Then we have Yasiel Puig, who we signed after the Josh Reddick trade to the Cardinals in July at the deadline. And he played very good, hit 298, 6 homers, had some very clutch hits for us. I don't know if he'll be back, however. He is kind of a head case, and for a team that's looking to clean up their image, might be best for both ways, 2 parts, as Yasiel Puig, we definitely helped his stock in the limited time he played. So I expect him to get picked up this offseason. We have Carlos Correa, who hit 282, 20 homers, 74 RBIs. He was about on par with what he did last year. Carlos Correa, very good player. Only 25 years old, our shortstop of the future. But he is also a free agent, not this year, but he'll be a free agent next year. So he's definitely somebody we have to plan for. He's only going to be 26, so he's going to want long-term big money. So we got to be careful not to overspend on too many players this offseason, because we definitely want to lock up Correa. We have Jose Altuve, who probably saw the biggest dip in his numbers. Only at 268, 21 homers, 64 RBIs. The former AL MVP definitely had a down year. We just kind of kept waiting for Jose Altuve to pick it up, and he never really did. He had a pretty solid September, but only got his average up to 268, 30 points below last year. We expect him to have a bounce-back 2021 season. So up next on the docket is Kyle Tucker, a bench player. He was our backup left fielder. He had pretty solid OPS in his 201 at-bats, hit 269. He is our left fielder of the future. I'd like to pencil in him as that. When that future arrives, I don't know. I'm not sure if he'll be the starting left fielder next year. He could be. We'll talk more about that spot when we get to Brantley, but Kyle Tucker definitely someone to look out for in the Astros' future plans. So next up will be Yuli Gurriel, our starting first baseman, hit 264, Had 16 homers, 64 RBIs, played very well down the stretch like a lot of our hitters did, but he has declined tremendously over the season. You can see his power and contact going down a lot. Don't know if he'll be a starting first baseman next year. He will turn 36, so he could retire. I doubt he does, but I don't know if he'll be the starting first baseman. He might platoon. He might be traded. I don't know. It's very interesting to see what happens to Yuli this offseason. And here's the other guy that's very interesting to pay attention to, Michael Brantley. He had 249 average, 16 homers. Definitely way down by his standards. His ratings didn't decrease that much. He actually increased in some areas, so that's very intriguing. He is going to be a free agent, however, so I'm not sure if I want to bring back Brantley yet. I like his quirks, I like his bats, but he definitely didn't play so good. Might have to see him test and see what he demands on the market. But Michael Brantley could be back next year, might not be. We are on the fence. He's probably the most intriguing option. Then we have Martin Maldonado, who, if you remember back in the early parts of the series, I said he was definitely the breakout player of the year. And boy, did he fell off. 239 average. He was hitting 330s at the beginning of the year. So he ended up just falling back into that platoon role. He's on contract next year, so I expect Martin Maldonado to be back. Don't see much change happening in that catcher position. Here's Abraham Toro. He was a corner infielder who we called up to be basically backup. He hit 235. Could play that same role next year. Probably have to fight in spring training for that role, but he's just a bench player who plays corner infield at this point. Still young, though, at 23 years old. Then we get to the other platoon catcher, Garrett Stubbs, who we saw more of because there's more right-handers than left-handers in the league. And he ended up actually doing better than Maldonado. So he hit 251 and had only 2 homers, but he's more of a defensive catcher, and I don't mind that. I don't mind a good defensive catcher who can gun people down. So he's also in arbitrations or team control, so Stubbs will definitely be back next year. Then we have Miles Straw, a backup outfielder / middle infielder, so a very interesting combo. He's got B potential and is very young. He's actually a 74. He's just decreased because he's mad, but he's also more of a defensive specialist. He could be trade bait if we want to improve, not via free agency, but I also like him as a backup, so he's kind of there at the moment. Then we have Aledmys Diaz, our middle infielder, who completely sucked this year. A lot of our bench players were not very good. He hit 179. Is on team control arbitration, but is 29. He could be DFA'd. He might not even be brought back. I don't think Aledmys Diaz really has a bright future on this team, so I wouldn't be looking forward to seeing him next year. Then we have Lorenzo Quintana. He hit 190. He was also a backup catcher from time to time, whether Maldonado or Stubbs got hurt. 30 years old, barely hasn't played in the majors. Not going to really make that much of a dent. And then Jack Mayfield only hit 083. He was our September call-up. Not very good at all. But I do like Jack Mayfield. He's a middle infielder who I think could challenge next year in that spring training spot for it. But he really needs to pick it up as he has not hit good in the majors through basically 2 call-ups now. Now let's move over to pitchers. We're going to sort it by ERA. So starting off with Joe Smith, who had a .60 ERA. So normally that would be very, very good. And it is very, very good, but he only pitched 15 innings all year. He was our other setup man, and we had Ryan Presley in the setup position, so he didn't get too much playing time. I do think we'll trade Joe Smith. He's on contract next year for I think like $4.5 million, and I don't want to pay 2 setup men like plus money, so expect Joe Smith to be on the move. Here is Ryan Presley, the main setup man who had a 2.14 ERA. He's one of the best relievers in baseball, and he's not even declining at 31 years old. So Ryan Presley, dominant setup man, had a very dominant year once more. He is a cornerstone of the bullpen, one of its lone bright spots, actually. Then we go to the other bright spot, which was Roberto Osuna, our closer, the All-Star. 2.44 ERA. He had 42 saves on the year, a career high. He is a dominant closer. He does have a checkered past, however, so for a team that's looking to clean its image, it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out this offseason. But he is still very dominant. One of the best closers in baseball. Then we finally start to get to the rotation. Jose Urquidy had the best ERA in our rotation. He was an absolute unit. I loved him this year. If you watch the episodes, you can tell I've spoken nothing but high praise about him. Very young. It's so good to have a prospect in the rotation who's going to be in the rotation for years to come. He has solidified his spot. 2.49 ERA. Very, very dominant. Was an all-star snub, in my opinion, as well. Should have made the all-star team, but did not. Next we have Justin Verlander, one of two good but very old and very high-priced veterans. He had a 2.84 ERA, 234 strikeouts. Definitely decreased throughout the season. Look at those attributes just tanking. He is 37, so he could retire. I don't think he is because he is due $30 million. And we have two starting pitchers between him and Greinke who are due $30+ million. So I don't know if we can keep both. That's a lot of money for two aging veterans. So it'd be up to us to decide which one we want to keep, or if one of them's even trade bait, or if anybody even wants them at that price. Here's Zach Greinke. However, he finished 3.11 ERA. He actually had the best whip in baseball, or in the AL, surprisingly. I was kind of shocked to see that. But he is due $34 million, so he is better than Verlander, but he's also more expensive. So I'm still debating which one I think I might want to shop around. But Zach Greinke is still a pretty dominant pitcher, so I think we might end up keeping him. But who knows? Then we go back to the bullpen. Jose Urena, who we acquired back in May from the Marlins in a trade for a prospect. He was a pretty solid long reliever. We didn't really have a set one, and we went and picked him up, and he kind of solidified himself in that role. 3.23 ERA. Had a 129 whip, so that was down by his standards as well. I like Urena, and he's also in arbitration, so I don't see why he won't return. And then we go back to the starting rotation with Lance McCullers Jr. Had a 3.63 ERA. Very, very up and down. Had a pretty solid ERA, but his whip was way higher than it's used to. 147 whip. Gave up almost an extra 100 hits this year. Still very solid, however, 26, and he is improving. So still a good piece of the rotation. We just hope he cannot be so rocky next year. Then let's move back to the bullpen now with Brad Peacock, our most reliable middle reliever. You definitely saw a lot of Brad Peacock this year. 3.86 ERA. And again, being the most reliable middle reliever, is the middle relief, we struggled in the middle innings. But Brad Peacock, 75 overall, is a free agent this year. Might not be the most popular opinion, but I think we're going to try to bring back Peacock. You know, when your bullpen has struggled like it did, you kind of want to bring back your best reliever. So I'm going to try to bring back Peacock. He was okay, but if he's not the number one option, I think he could still definitely contribute. And here's Rogelio Armenteros, another player of Tale of Two Halves. We called him up early on when the minors were still going on, and he played very, very solid once we DFA'd Homer Bailey. But down the stretch, he really struggled in the month of August and September, and he actually lost his rotation spot down the stretch and became a long reliever. But he's still very young, so he's got a lot to improve on, a lot of time to improve. Here's Austin Pruitt, another middle reliever. He got a 4.61 ERA. I mean, that's kind of what you expect by him. You'll see his career stats so far, and he's kind of just always sat in that range. We call him up from the minors. Couldn't really find that last bullpen piece, so we decided to give him a shot. And he kind of stuck with it, which isn't really saying much. He is going to be 31 too, D potential. I mean, there's really nothing bright about this dude, so don't know what to expect from him next year. Then we go to Chris Devenski, 5.14 ERA. He's had two back-to-back subpar years in the bullpen, and he is about to turn the age of 30, and his potential's even going down now. Look at that home run per 9. I mean, that's not what you'd like to see. We have too many long balls, in my opinion. But Chris Devenski is, if he's even on the team next spring training, he's definitely going to have to fight to keep his major league spot. So that's a lot of story in the bullpen, including this guy, Alex Reyes. He was who we traded Josh Reddick for, and we didn't. Safe to say, we lost that deal. All right, Alex Reyes was downright awful in the bullpen. 6.90 ERA. He is an A potential. He is 25, so he is improving a lot. But I mean, he was, every single time we called him, he just got whacked around. So hopefully he can, get it together. As we have bright plans for him, but his spot in the bullpen next year is not guaranteed. He'll have to win that in spring training. And then last on the pitchers roster is Josh James. He started off in the bullpen, or in the rotation, and he was horrible. His ERA was above 10, so we sent him down, and he spent some time at the alternate sites before being called up in September. And he kind of filled in for Armenteros and got his ERA down a good bit. So he did play better down the stretch. Is an A potential, so he's another guy fighting for a bullpen or a starting rotation spot. But that will do it for our starting pitchers, or actually, so for both our whole team. So let's actually go to team stats now. Before we even get there, I want to take a look at Josh Reddick, because he ended up finishing 265 and 20 homers. So once we traded him, he played phenomenal for St. Louis. He's part of the reason why they made the postseason. So he is a free agent too. And we don't know what we're doing with right field spots. So could we see a Josh Reddick reunion in Houston? Maybe. Maybe not. But something to keep an eye out for. He's definitely an option that I'm looking at to come back and play right field, especially on a cheaper deal, as he was making $13 million. And we were really close to our budget. So that's it for the player stats. Now let's go over to our team stats. There's a couple I want to highlight. Starting with batting average, we finished 13th in the league in batting average. Actually, let's go over to winning percentage. We were 7th best team in the baseball, but unfortunately, the 7th best team in baseball does not make the postseason. So back to batting average, we were 13th in batting average, better than we expected, but we're where we were sitting for most of the year. But you expect the Astros to do better than that. Best hitting team in baseball was the Boston Red Sox, the 275 average. Now I'll go to home runs, and home runs, we were tied for 6th with the Nationals with 228. We whacked the ball around pretty good. I mean, we hit a lot of long balls. Dodgers led the way, 291 homers. They just were raking all year. And then I want to highlight stolen bases. We were 28th in stolen bases, really low. If we do pick up an outfielder, I want to get some speed in this lineup because I like to steal more bases, put some pressure on the pitchers, put some pressure on the defense. So try to go after this offseason and get a speed guy. Now let's go to ERA, where we were 5th in ERA, 3.76 ERA. That's mostly because of starting rotation, including those 3 you see right there, because bullpen didn't help that ERA out a lot. So we definitely know we still need to improve the bullpen. ERA was the Dodgers, and you want to know why we didn't make the playoffs? 2, 3, and 4 was the Red Sox, the Athletics, and the Yankees. So it's definitely still need dominant pitching if we want to succeed in the AL. Hits allowed, we allowed tie for 15 hits, which is about league average, but when your ERA is in the top 5 and your hits being about average, something a little off about there. So we got kind of lucky a lot of the times. Strikeouts, we actually didn't strike out a bunch of batters. Despite Verlander's 234 strikeouts, we finished 20th in the league in strikeouts. So maybe if we get a reliever, I want to get a more dominant reliever, hopefully a lefty, who can just come in and start fanning some batters left and right. So that's another area I think we can improve on definitely in the offseason. But that'll do it for our team stats. Let's just go to the awards, starting off with Chris Sale. He actually won AL MVP. He beat out Mike Trout, and he becomes the first pitcher to win that award since 2011 when Justin Verlander did it with the Tigers. So congrats to Chris Sale. He is your AL MVP, and which also means he won the Cy Young Award as well. Dominant, 284 strikeouts, 2.25 ERA. That is pretty dominant. Let's go over to batting title. Mike Trout did win the batting title, had 50 dingers and 134 ribbies. He did definitely make a case for the MVP, but nonetheless, he did not get his 4th crown. Reliever of the year, Tim Hill from Kansas City. And then Rookie of the Year is Yoshimoto Tsugo from Tampa Bay. So he becomes the first Ray to win this award since 2013 when Will Myers won it. Very solid year. Is definitely older for a rookie, 28 already, but 23 homers and 61 RBI is not bad. Hank Aaron Award goes to Mike Trout. And we're going to take a look at the Gold Glove Award winners. You can take a look at them. A couple of Yankees, Gio Urshela, Luke Voit, and the Yankees and the Red Sox basically dominated the middle infield. And now the Silver Sluggers, Hunter Dozier got her for the DH. Jordan Alvarez did not get it, unfortunately. But Alex Bregman did get Silver Slugger for the third baseman. He had 41 bombs and 93 ribbies. That was by far and away the best among shortstops. So let's move over to the National League now. National League MVP is Cody Bellinger. He goes back-to-back. 332 average, 43 homers, 113 RBIs. Hard to deny that, as he was an absolute force. Part of the reason why the Dodgers won so many games. Your NL Cy Young is Max Scherzer. He wins his 4th Cy Young Award of his career. He joins an elite class of Steve Carlton and Greg Maddux, so very good for him. Mookie Betts won the batting title. Reliever was Mike Morin. And Rookie of the Year was Shogo Akiyama. So 2 Japanese winners. They sweep the Rookie of the Year award voting. I'm pretty sure that's the first time in history that both AL and Rookie NL of the Year, or AL and NL Rookie of the Year award winners come from Japan. So he had 253, 22 homers, and 73 RBIs. Mookie Betts also won the Hank Aaron Award, and let's actually touch on Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, remember, is a free agent. He hasn't signed the extension in this season, and I cannot wait to see what Mookie Betts makes this offseason. He is about to get paid. So the Mookie Betts sweepstakes starts in about 1 month. Here are your Gold Glove Award winners. Take a look at who wins it around the league. A couple Marlins win the award. Marcell Ozuna, Lorenzo Cain, and Mookie Betts. So Mookie Betts adds another crown to his mantle. I'm pretty sure he's going to win Silver Slugger when we get there as well. Freddie Freeman goes back. Well, actually, doesn't go back-to-back. Excuse me, I was reading that wrong. But Cody Bellinger gets it. Angel Acuna gets it. And no, Juan Soto got it. So Mookie Betts didn't get Silver Slugger. But nonetheless, he collected plenty of hardware for the offseason. Let's take a look at game 163. It actually was won by the Diamondbacks. So they win 6-5. That was a very exciting game. You can take a look at the box score. A lot of runs down the stretch, but the Diamondbacks, they make the postseason. The Chicago Cubs will be looking on the outside in. So our field is set. Take a look at it in a second. Yeah, we didn't make the postseason. I already knew that. Thanks for letting me know again, baseball. That stings. And the regular season has come to end, so take a look at the bracket. Here's the bracket for the playoffs. Yankees and Dodgers get the bye. Let me know what your predictions are for the playoffs. I predict Yankees, Dodgers in the World Series, and I think the Yankees will take the World Series. But let me know what you guys think. Hope you enjoyed year one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe down below if you want more franchise content. And this is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.